I am Dayang and I will start my presentation. My case study is about Korea's elderly poverty in relation to the SDGs. This case study will consist of the general overview, findings and discussions, solutions, and conclusion. I will start with the general overview. Because this case study makes the connection between elderly poverty and the SDGs, I will first explain what they are. The SDGs are a set of 17 goals made by the United Nations intended to be achieved by the year 2030. The purpose of these goals is to reach the reduction of inequalities, international economic growth, and a safer environment for all. The SDG goal, which has the most connection to this case study's topic, is goal number 1, no poverty. This goal intends to eliminate all kinds of poverty, including extreme poverty and relative poverty. Moving on to the actual problem of elderly poverty in Korea, I will explain the problems surrounding the country. South Korea is highly economically developed, but it still has many social issues to be solved. Some of them are the decreasing birth rate and the aging population. This means that there are less young people who are active socially and economically, and a bigger ratio of senior citizens. This means not only that more welfare is needed for families to have children, but also a safety net for the elderly who are in need of support. If the problem of elderly poverty does not get solved, it will only keep on getting worse as time passes. Elderly poverty causes a large number of serious issues for the elderly. Many seniors do not retire and keep on working not because they want to expand their career, but because they are forced to work since they cannot support themselves if they don't. In other cases, one retires from their job, but they cannot get back to their previous field of work, even if they have financial troubles. Most of these citizens resort to working in unstable and unfavorable conditions with a little amount of income. Moreover, many senior citizens are suffering from depression and mental or emotional problems. In extreme cases, some of them even contemplate suicide. All of these problems are generally more severe for seniors who live alone. Now I will move on to my findings and discussions. Korea is the country with the highest elderly poverty rate among the OECD countries, with 43.4% of citizens over 65 living in poverty. This is about 4 times higher than the average rate, which is 12.6%. When this piece of information is compared to the poverty rate in Korea, which is 14.4%, the fact that poverty is especially severe among the elderly becomes obvious. Many of them go through depression mainly because of poverty. In fact, 6 out of 10 Korean depression patients are seniors. As I mentioned above, the trouble senior citizens experience due to poverty are more extreme for those who live alone. This problem is likely to aggravate since the ratio of elders who live alone are increasing. In order to analyze this problem properly, figure out the reason this happens is important. There are several major reasons why elderly poverty is a serious problem in Korea. One reason is retirement and the increasing life expectancy. While the average retirement age stayed the same for many years, the life expectancy is continuously increasing in the country. What this meant for elders is that they had to support themselves for a longer time. This has been a source of anxiety for many seniors. Another is that many seniors nowadays have a hard time receiving support from their family members or the government. Nuclear families became the norm instead of large families with 3 or more generations under one roof, as a big number of people stopped working with their family members by farming and, and began working in cities. Separation between children and parents became normal, and the children eventually had to support their parents using the money they earned. However, this happens not as often because less and less people deem supporting their parents financially as necessary. Meanwhile, the dependency obligation system, which is a policy that obligates adults to provide financial support for their parents, becomes an obstacle that stops seniors from receiving enough aid. South Korea's capital of Seoul abolished its dependency obligation system in May 2021. The basic pension the government provides is often not enough. It is under $200 per month, and most receivers' opinion is that this amount is too small for them to sustain themselves. A similar problem arises when the financial support the elderly received get counted as their own property, and the same amount of money gets excluded when they get their next month's pension. The generation of elders now is the generation that survived the Korean War, some even having fought in it, and participated in the rapid growth of Korea's economy. However, they are the ones suffering from poverty without proper support. It could be said that the elderly population of Korea is forgotten. The Korean government stated that it would work hard to eliminate elderly poverty, but its efforts are still not sufficient and more measures need to be taken. In order to reach no elderly poverty, strong policies should be enforced, since the problem of poverty is not likely to be solved with only individual efforts. First of all, increasing the amount of basic pension for the elderly is needed. This way, seniors in poverty would have an easier time sustaining themselves. Another solution is creating more jobs for the elderly. If they are able to have stable jobs with relatively high payment, they would be able to find a source of income as well as time to contribute their professional knowledge. Furthermore, this method will help reduce the competition for jobs between the young generation and the senior citizens. In South Korea, encountering seniors who are homeless or those who collect cardboard scraps and stack them on their cart is a pretty common sight. Maybe many people got used to it, but all of this is a result of elderly poverty that was untreated. Elderly poverty happens mainly because the elderly cannot get enough support from those who should take care of them. It can be said that the source of elderly poverty is ignorance, and and it is the whole community's duty to stop this and make sure that everyone is living in fine conditions. The solving of elderly poverty would help support the economy in the future, decrease the high suicide and depression rate of senior citizens, and prevent citizens from worrying about their future. Thank you for listening.